Big Legend is the 4th Bigfoot movie that Lance Hendrickson is in. He's barely a cameo at the very end, so can the other characters carry this film? Let's find out. First, we meet Tyler and Natalie. They're on this big romantic camping trip, and they say everything is just so beautiful. Tyler proposes, blah blah blah. Come on, let's get to Bigfoot. Well, that night, they hear wood knocks. Tyler goes out to investigate, and Natalie is taken, tent and all. 12 months later, and Tyler's getting out of the psych ward. It seems the death of his fiancée took quite a toll on him. But after a year, he's convinced it was just a bear attack, and life goes on. His mom, played by Adrian Barbow, picks him up. Most remember her from Escape to New York or Creepshow, but I remember her as Oswald's mom from The Drew Carey Show.
Hi, Mama.
Hi, honey.
Back at home, she can tell her son is still upset, and she gives him some motherly advice. He can either move on, or go back into the woods and look for answers. Okay, so best case scenario, there's a man-eating bear out there. Good advice, Mom. The next half hour is just Tyler walking around in the woods, so get used to it. I will say, Kevin Makeley, who plays Tyler, can grow a really nice beard. Look at how thick that is. After finding no evidence of what took his fiancée, he calls it a night and sleeps in his Jeep. Suddenly, his car is attacked. A rock through the windshield, a tree through a window, and eventually Bigfoot just pounds on the engine, ruining the car. Tyler gets ready to shoot, but it's just a hunter.
Car trouble, Chief?
You're telling me this hunter didn't see Bigfoot attacking the car? This hunter asks Tyler if he's having car trouble. Yeah, you think? The hunter, whose name is Eli, takes Tyler back to his camp for a beer. Neither one will say the real reason they're out there, but they're hunting the same thing, Bigfoot. Eli shows Tyler little skulls on a lot of trees that the natives put there. Eli thinks this is a magical barrier keeping Bigfoot in. However, there was an eruption that broke the spell, and now Bigfoot's free to go wherever he wants in the woods. They head back to camp and see that it's trashed. With nowhere else to go, they head deeper into the woods. Eli just wants to see the creature, while Tyler wants to kill it. Before we had just Tyler wandering in the woods, so now we have Eli and Tyler wandering around. Not really anything different until Tyler takes off running and falls right into a boneyard. Gross. Bigfoot throws a rock and breaks Eli's leg. Tyler pulls him to safety and takes a look. Yep, it's broken. Tyler heads back to the boneyard to get his bag and med kit. When he's there, he finds the ring he gave to Natalie. No time to grieve though, because Bigfoot is right on his tail. He makes it back to Eli and patches him up. So you know what they get to do. Wander in the woods. Eventually they set up camp. It seems like the fire keeps Bigfoot away. So for now, they're safe. They hang out at a camp for a few days, really getting nowhere. The snow is coming down pretty hard, and it's looking pretty bleak. So, Eli, knowing he's holding Tyler back, takes off in the middle of the night. Tyler wakes up to find him gone, and eventually finds him being eaten by Bigfoot. So, Tyler runs away, but Bigfoot catches up to him. They fight a little bit, and eventually Tyler stabs Bigfoot, and Tyler ends up running away. Now, Tyler turns on Rambo mode and gets ready to fight the monster. The next day, he makes it back to the camp and sets up booby traps. He puts down gas and uses Eli's truck to power some lights, then lays on the horn. Okay, step back a minute. Tyler didn't have the keys. That truck would probably power the lights and all that for maybe 10 minutes, but they act like it's hours later and everything is still working just fine. Anyway, the horn gets too annoying and Bigfoot comes down to shut it up. Tyler and Bigfoot fight. He hides in the truck, but Bigfoot just flips it over. Tyler gets an axe and does some damage, but really, you can't stop the beast. Tyler gets thrown around a bit and eventually shoots the propane tank and lights a flare lighting up Bigfoot as he runs into the woods. Never thought I'd see that. A flaming Bigfoot. Tyler's picked up on the road and taken to a sort of hospital, where we finally get to see Hendrickson. Yeah, did you forget about him? Well, he tells Tyler that monsters are real, and he's recruiting a team to hunt them. Then they reveal a new series called The Monster Chronicles. That's quite the setup for a movie series. I hope they can deliver. As of right now, it doesn't look like they've made any progress on The Monster Chronicles. But hey, one can hope. I like the idea of setting up this monsterverse like Marvel did with superheroes. I guess all we can do is wait and see. But what about Big Legend? Well, it's not half bad. I like Tyler and Eli. Tyler reminded me of Joe Manganiello, and Eli reminded me of John C. Reilly. I don't know, it was kind of just the way he talked. Bigfoot looked pretty good for the little bit that we saw him, and I thought that the cinematography looked great. I would say it is lacking a little in the story. There's a little too much of them wandering around in the woods for me. They left a few unanswered questions. For example, they mentioned about a corporation called Xylon that owned all the land they were hunting on. I was thinking that maybe Hendrickson was the CEO of this corporation, but they really didn't clarify that. But that's okay. Maybe they'll make that clear in the sequels. If you're into Bigfoot movies and you want to see what they make of this, then watch Big Legend. I give it 3 thick manly beards out of 4.
Car trouble, Chief?